Hello and welcome, my dear students. In the last video lecture, I had completed the terminologies of accounting, that is total 46 terminologies that we had studied. Now, in this video lecture, I am going to explain you the last two topics of this chapter, that is chapter number 1, accounting and its terminology. So, let's start with that two topics. In that, the first one topic, as you can see in your textbook also, that is types of accounting methods. Now, after understanding the terminology, next topic that we are going to study, that is which method of accounting can be utilized, or which are the accounting methods through which we can prepare the books of accounts. Okay, so there are basically two methods of accounting, that is Deshi Nama system and the second one, that is double entry system. Now, previously, before the invention of computer, because before the utilization of computer, mostly the transactions were manually written. There was an accountant kept and he used to write the books of accounts of a particular firm, right? So previously Deshi Nama system was existing in our Indian economy. In Deshi Nama system, if your parents are involved in the business since last many years, then they might be familiar, and you can collect the information from your parents, also from your father especially, regarding the Deshi Nama system. That was a red colored vertical book, it was there, and there were 8 folds in it, and which the 4 folds that was for Jama, and 4 folds that was for Udhar. It means there are total 8 folds. The book was folded, the pages were folded in such a way that 4 folds, whatever the 4 folds that you are doing, that was for Jama, and 4 folds that was for Udhar. And the Gujarati terminologies were utilized over there, such as Rojmail, Khata Wahi, and then afterwards, what to say, Betho Mail, and such type of Gujarati terms were utilized in that Deshi Nama system. Even in English topic also, Deshi Nama system was explained with Gujarati terminologies only. Okay, so that Deshi Nama system was existing previously before the invention of computer, when the accounts were written manually. But now, because of the invention of the computer, and because of now, instead of writing the accounts manually, that work has become completely computerized. Okay, so now we are generally following the double entry system method of accounting. Now, double entry system, the word itself clarifies that double entry system means 2 entry. Of any particular transaction, 2 entries are to be given. That are the rules of debit and credit. Already we had discussed that there are transactions, and only economic transactions will be recorded in the books of accounts. Now, in that economic transactions to record, always there will be 2 effects. Always there will be 2 effect of any particular transaction. It means one effect that would be debit, and the other one that would be credit. So that's why this method is called double entry system, because for each transaction 2 entries or double entry are given for that particular transaction. That is one debit effect and the other one, that is credit effect. Okay. So always whenever you will be doing the totaling of debit side and credit side, it would be coming equal, because how much amount you have debited, same amount you have to credit. So always the total of debit side and credit side would come equal. Okay, so that is the main entry, or the main system that we have to study nowadays, that is double entry system. Now, after understanding the meaning of Deshi Nama system and double entry system, let us move on. In double entry system also, there are 3 bases of understanding, 3 different bases. But before that, one important point that I have left, that is the mathematician of Italy, that is Luca Pacioli. You have to remember this name. He was a mathematician of Italy, and his name is Luca Pacioli. and is considered as the father of double entry system. So that can be asked in MCQ or in short answers, that who is considered as the father of double entry system. That is Luca Pacioli. He was a mathematician of Italy. Okay. Then afterwards, it is based on the rules of debit and credit. Already I discussed that double entry system is based on the rules of debit and credit. It means each and every transaction, whatever the transaction we are writing. Suppose for example, I am giving you that is goods purchased worth rupees 5,000. So one effect that would be giving, that is purchase account debit to cash account credit, because we are purchasing the goods, so goods comes in, and on the other hand cash goes out. So two effect will be given of any transaction. Later on I'll explain you what are the rules of debit and credit, but at present you understand that for any particular transaction we have to give two effect for it, one debit effect and one credit effect. Okay, so that on that rule only, on that basis the double entry system has been developed. Okay, now moving on the three different bases in double entry system. There are three different bases on which the accounts are prepared as per double entry system. The first one, that is mercantile base. Now this mercantile base is currently utilized by most of the business units. Okay, most of the company or form of organization are utilizing or preparing their accounts as per mercantile base or accrual base. Even in your textbook the word is given accrual base. Okay, now what is accrual or mercantile base? Transactions pertaining to receipts, payment, liability and assets of any particular accounting year are included. Okay, suppose I am giving you one accounting year, say 1st April 2014 to 31st March 2015. Now students, already I discussed that the accounting year will always start from 1st April to 31st March. It will not be 1st January to 31st December. That is our calendar year, and this is our accounting year. Okay, now what they have said, transactions pertaining to receipt payment. It means whatever the transactions in which we have earned, we have gained, we have received the money, and in whichever transaction we have made the payment, or the transactions of liability and assets. Liability means suppose we are paying the interest on loan, we are paying the debenture interest, then provident fund, creditors, then all that becomes our liability. So whatever the liabilities that are paid, or whatever the assets that have been purchased, assets means any kind of assets, whether it may be machinery, furniture, any kind of debtors, then all that are coming in the category of assets. So whatever the assets, liabilities, receipts and payments, again repeating, receipts, payment, liability and assets of any particular accounting year. Suppose I have taken this accounting year of 1st April 2014 to 31st March 2015, of any particular accounting year are included. It means transactions of any kind of receipt, any kind of payment, any kind of liability or assets that has been made during a particular accounting year are recorded in the books of accounts as per mercantile base or as per mercantile system. Okay, now what is the next important point over here? That is, it includes receivable incomes of current year and payable expense of current year. Transactions of previous year or next year are not recorded in CY, that is short form, are not recorded in current year. Current year, what is our current year? Suppose for example that is 1st April 2014 to 31st March 2015. That is our current year, present year. Okay, in which we are preparing the books of accounts. Now it includes receivable incomes of current year. Suppose there is income to be received. Suppose for the current year income that we are not receiving the current year, but that income we will receive in the next year. Suppose for example dividend or commission. Commission which is to be received in the current year, but that is outstanding. It means outstanding income, outstanding expense, that is payable. Whatever the expense, suppose salary of 12 months, out of that you have paid the salary of only 10 months, then remaining 2 months salary, that would be considered as outstanding, that is of the current year, but you have not paid it in the current year, but next year you will be paying it. So instead of so that outstanding expense of 2 months salary will be included in this current year transaction, that is 1st April 2014 to 31st March 2015. Suppose I am giving you example that salary of rupees 5,000 you are paying to one of the employee, and 5,000 salary you have paid for 11 months. Total in 12 months accounting year, 11 months salary that you have paid. It means 55,000 that you have paid. But March salary, that is of the last month of the accounting year, that is of March, you have not paid the salary. So 5,000 salary that would be outstanding for the month of March. Okay. So that 5,000 salary which is outstanding salary will also be included or noted down as one of the transaction of this accounting year, 1st April to 31st March 2015, because even though it is not paid, but that is actually the liability or payable amount of this particular accounting year. So even though it is not paid, then also it will be recorded in the books of accounts of this particular accounting year. In the same way, outstanding income. Okay, outstanding income means income which is to be receivable in this year. Suppose commission. Suppose I am giving you example, that is commission, that is 3,000 rupees you are going to receive every month, right? And you have received the commission of only 10 months, that is rupees 30,000 you have received for this accounting year. But last 2 months, that is suppose February and March, 2 months commission you have not received, right? So for 2 months it would come to 6,000, 3,000 into 2. So that 6,000 you have not received. So even though you have not received that income, but actually that is the receivable income for this particular current year only. That's why it will be recorded in the books of accounts of this particular accounting year. They are considered the transaction of the current year, that is 1st April 2014 to 31st March 2015. So any kind of outstanding income or outstanding expense, even though they are not received or not paid in the current year, but they are actually the expense or income of that particular current year, that's why they are to be recorded in the books of accounts of that particular current year. Okay. Now next point, or the and payable expense of current year, transactions of previous year or next year are not recorded in current year. Suppose here it was an example that it was outstanding of the current year, but suppose total salary, that is 5,000 per month, so 5,000 into 12, that would come to 60,000. So 60,000, that is the total salary to be paid for the current year. But suppose the salary of the next year, that is of the after 31st March 2015, suppose salary is of 1st April 2015, and the next month, that is of May, that is 1st May 2015, suppose of this 2 months salary, then this 2 months salary you will not pay in the current year, because that is of the next year. So of the previous year or of the next year, you will not include those transactions in the current year. Okay, only those transactions which are outstanding or income or expense, that only will be included in the current year transactions. These transactions other than 31st March 2015, whatever the transactions takes place after 31st March 2015, that will not be included in the books of accounts of this accounting year. In the same way, whatever the transaction that takes place before 1st April, it means suppose any transaction had taken place on 28th February, 2014, 28th February 2014, then this transaction is not related to this particular accounting year. It means they are not coming in this accounting year, so that will also not be recorded in the books of accounts of this particular accounting year. It means transactions of previous year or next year will not be included in the books of accounts. Only the transactions pertaining to receipt, payment, liability and assets of that particular current year only will be recorded. Other than that, outstanding income, outstanding expense or income received in advance or expense payable in advance, that will be recorded if they are related to that particular current year only. Okay, I've already given you the example that is of outstanding expense of salary, and over here that is of the commission, that is outstanding commission. Even though they are not paid or not received, but they are actually the liability or expense of the particular current year only. That's why they are to be recorded in the books of accounts of the current year, that is 1st April 2014 to 31st March 2015. Okay. So now we have completed the first point, that is mercantile base. Now after understanding mercantile base, the next method or base, that is cash or receipt base. Now cash or receipt base, the word itself clarifies that only the cash transactions will be recorded in this type of method. Only cash transactions pertaining to receipt, payment, liability and assets are included. Over here, all the transactions pertaining to receipt, payment, liability and assets of any particular accounting year are included. Its basic difference in these two methods, that is mercantile system and cash system, is that over here also receipt, payment, liability and assets are recorded. Over here also receipt, payment, liability and assets are recorded. That is same in both the methods. Only difference over here is that all the transactions of any particular accounting year are only included. Over here all the types of transactions, whether it is of the previous year or of the next year, but it should be cash transactions. Suppose I have received the commission of commission received in advance. Suppose commission, our accounting year is 1st April 2014 to 31st March. Again same accounting year I am choosing, that is 1st April 2014 to 31st March 2015, and commission that is of the next year, next 3 months commission. Suppose 1st April 31st March 2016, 30th April 2015, then afterwards 31st May 2015 and 30th June 2015. These are the 3 months after March, right? That is April, May and June. This 3 months commission that have received in advance in the current year. What is our current year? That is 1st April 14 to 31st March 2015. Next 3 months commission that I have received in advance in the current year. So even though they are not the income of the current year, they will be recorded in the books of accounts as per the cash or receipt system. Because in that, whatever the cash we are receiving, whether it is of previous year or current year, if it is received in cash, it means it will be recorded in the books of accounts. While in the first method, only the transactions of receipt, payment, liability, assets which are related to that particular accounting year only will be recorded. Transaction of previous year or next year will not be included in the mercantile system. While over here, if they are received in cash, whether they are of the previous year or the next year, will be included in the books of accounts. Okay, so that is the basic difference between these two methods, that is mercantile base and cash base. Now the cash system or cash based system is not that much popular as compared to the mercantile system. Cash transactions of previous year and current year are also considered. Over here we have already seen in mercantile system, it includes receivable income of current year and payable expense of current year only. Income receivable and expense payable of the current year only are included. Transactions of previous year or next year are not recorded in current year. They are not recorded. Over here they are recorded. Of previous year and current year are also considered. That is the main difference between the two methods. Now the third method, that is the mixed method. That is the mixture or combination of the first two methods. It is the mixture of mercantile and cash system, but generally this method is not that much popular as that of the mercantile system. Most of the company form of organization, or nowadays many of the partnership and sole proprietorship firm are also maintaining or writing their books of accounts as per the first method, that is the mercantile base or mercantile system or accrual system. This is the most popular and the correct way of writing the books of accounts. Now after understanding the three different bases or as per double entry system, now we'll be moving on the last topic, that is steps to prepare accounts. We have understood the terminologies, we have understood the different methods through which we have to write the books of accounts. Now we'll follow how to write the books of accounts, which steps we have to follow in chronological order to write the books of accounts. Okay, so first step towards preparation of books of accounts, that is voucher. Voucher is a written document. Whenever you go to purchase the goods, you ask for receipt. In the same way, the seller also gives the receipt to you about the goods that you have purchased. So it is a written record of whatever the transactions have taken place in the business. So first thing, that is the books of accounts are prepared on the basis of the voucher, on the basis of receipt, on the basis of bill that you are getting. Okay. The next one, that is identification of transaction. Identification means to decide whether the transaction is economic transaction, non-economic transaction, whether it is cash transaction or credit transaction. Suppose, for example, I give my own example. If I am teaching you all that I am getting salary from the government, from the school, from the trust, right? So that is called an economic transaction. But the same thing, if I am teaching my child at my home, then it becomes non-economic transaction, because in that case I'll not take salary, right? So that example is a non-economic transaction. In the same way, a doctor, if he is treating his patients, then naturally he will charge fees from his patients, so that becomes an economic transaction. But when he is treating or giving medicines or prescription to his own child, then it becomes a non-economic transaction. So only the economic transactions will be recorded in the books of accounts. Okay. Then afterwards, cash transaction and credit transaction. We already discussed in the previous video lectures what is cash and what is credit. Cash transactions means immediate payment at the time of purchase or sale of goods, then that is called cash transaction. But credit transaction means immediate payment or immediate receivable amount is not achieved by the person. It means credit transaction means immediately you are not receiving the money, but you are giving the time period to pay the amount after certain time. Suppose you have purchased the goods worth rupees 50,000 and you have given the guarantee to the party that you will pay the amount after 6 months. So for 6 months, that becomes the goods for credit. So after 6 months you have to pay the amount, that is rupees 50,000. So for 6 months that amount, that transaction becomes a credit transaction. So both are included as economic transactions. Credit transaction, no doubt, at present you are not getting the payment in case of credit transaction. But in future, after 6 months, you will be getting this payment of rupees 50,000. So this type of transaction, whether it is cash or credit, in which there is economic return, that is money benefit, that type of transactions will be recorded in the books of accounts. So we have to identify whether they are economic or whether they are non-economic, whether they are cash transactions or credit transactions. Okay, so all that type of transactions except non-economic transactions, all other type of transactions will be recorded in the books of accounts. Okay, so we have to identify after collecting the receipt or voucher. The next step is to identify which type of transaction it is. Okay, after deciding the type of transaction, we have to move on to the next step, that is journal or subsidiary books. Now these are the subsequent chapters that you will be learning in accountancy, that is third and fourth chapter. Fourth chapter, that is of journal entries, that you will be understanding journal book. And then afterwards, subsequent chapters that will be of subsidiary books, ledger, posting, trial balance and final accounts. These are the subsequent chapters in detail you will be studying at that time. At present, you have to just understand the format or the steps that you have to follow while preparing the books of accounts. Now the step, that is journal or subsidiary books. Already we discussed that in double entry system there are two effects, that is debit effect and credit effect. So that is a journal is one kind of a book, is a book in which all the transactions are recorded in one particular book. So journal entries are written for each and every transaction that takes place in the business. Okay, and subsidiary book are prepared separately. Suppose purchase book, sales book, purchase return book, sales return book. At present, only you have to understand that all kind of credit transactions will be recorded in the subsidiary books. And another subsidiary book that we are preparing, that is cash book, in which all the cash transactions will be recorded. Okay, later on these all chapters will be coming to you, so day by day you will understand what are the basic concept and how to prepare subsidy books and cash book. At present only you have to understand the journal entries where to write. We have to write the subsidiary books. We have to mention the entries if they are relating to credit transactions. Suppose transactions related to purchase, then we have to write in purchase book. Transaction related to sales, then we are preparing separate sales book. It means at the end of the year, what is the reason for preparing separate accounts for each of the related transactions? That is, at the end of the year you get the idea, or you get all the data related to purchase at one particular place only, in one particular account only. You don't have to refer many pages for getting the data related to purchase. So we are preparing separate books related to different transactions of business. So in subsidy books only credit transactions, and for cash transactions we are preparing separate cash book. These are the chapters in detail you will be studying. Okay. Next, that is ledger posting. After preparing the subsidy books and writing the journal entries, the next step that would be posting of that entries. Whatever you have written in subsidy books or in journal book, that you have to do the posting in the concerned account. Suppose you are preparing purchase account, you are preparing salary account, you are preparing commission account, then all that transactions posting will be done in the concerned ledger book. That is a ledger book. As you are having the telephone diary, now onwards because of the use of mobile we are not having maintaining the telephone diary, but you might have seen a telephone diary with alphabetically order the numbers we are writing. Suppose we are having the contacts of A letter, then we are writing in the column or in the page of A. So easily we can find out the contacts with A letter, right? So in the same way, ledger book, if you want to search the transactions related to salary account, then directly only the front page, the index is written. So only you have to go through that particular page only in the ledger book. So you don't have to search the transactions related to salary or commission or any of the transactions which are taking place. You can get at one particular page all the transactions related to that particular account. Okay, so that is the main important thing, because of which the posting is to be done in the ledger book. Okay, then afterwards, trial balance and adjustments. Now trial balance is to be prepared in order to decide the balance, whether any particular transaction is having a debit balance or a credit balance, and always the trial balance should get tallied. Tallied means the total of debit side and total of credit side will always be equal. Then and then only your trial balance is correct. Okay, so trial balance, debit balance and credit balance total should always come equal, and this step would be followed only after doing the ledger posting. So each and every step is interwoven with each other. If you are having the voucher, then and then only you can identify which type of transaction is that on the basis of voucher. After identification, accordingly you will write the journal entries, you will post it. If it is credit transaction, you will post it in subsidy books. If it is cash transaction, then you will write in cash book. After doing that, then and then only you will do the posting in the concerned ledger book. After doing the posting in the concerned ledger book, then and then only you can identify from the balance whether it is credit transaction, credit balance, or whether it is having a debit balance. On that basis, you will decide whether it should be written on the credit side or whether it should be written on the debit side. So that is the second stage, that is trial balance. And on the basis of trial balance, the main important topic that you will be studying, basically you are having two parts of accountancy. That second part of accountancy, this chapter will be coming, that is of final accounts, which is very important chapter, because this type of chapter is connected in 12th standard also. Here in this year 11th standard you will be studying final accounts of sole proprietorship firm. In case of 12th standard you will be studying final accounts of partnership firm and company form of organization. So basic concept you will learn in this year, so you have to be utmost careful while studying the final accounts. Now in case of final accounts, you have to prepare basically two accounts and one statement. That is trading account, then afterwards P&L account, trading account, P&L account, and the third one, that is balance sheet. Now what is trading account, what is profit and loss account, you will not understand the concept at present. Only you have to understand that by preparing the final accounts you get the idea about the financial position of the business. It means what profit or loss the company or the firm has occurred at the end of any accounting year. That idea you can get only by preparing the final accounts. The detail of trading account, P&L account and balance sheet, that you will understand only at the time of that chapter. At present, you have to understand that final accounts is the last step in the preparation of accounts, through which we get the idea about the actual financial position of the business. Okay, so these were the steps to prepare accounts. The subsequent or the proper idea about each of the steps you'll be getting in the consecutive chapters that are there in your textbook. So you have to just revise or understand the basic concept of all these steps to prepare accounts. That's the end of the chapter number 1. In the next video lecture, I'll be starting with the second chapter of accountancy. Till then, goodbye. Keep practicing. Stay blessed.